Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today, I am so excited to have a conversation with actor Teddy Sears. Teddy has appeared in many different projects, including Raising the Bar, Masters of Sex, The Flash, 24 Legacy, The Politician, and so much more. Most recently, you can see Teddy as Dr. Josh Nichols in Brilliant Minds and in season 2 of The Night Agent. Thank you so much for being on my show. I am so excited to be talking with you.
Thanks for having me. Like I said, the audience didn't hear me say this, but I kind of feel like I have no business being on your show because the people you've interviewed are people that I look up to, that I'm starstruck by, frankly, who some of them seem like they're from Mars, like they have abilities, to tell stories of what it's like to be deeply human in a way that I think eludes most mortals like me. And so, anyway, thank you. This is really cool. I'm really happy. I kind of can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, so my first question for you is who has had the biggest impact on you professionally?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I don't think I've ever been asked this question before. Well, I have a family. So the kind of the first thing my mind first goes to my dad. He wasn't in this field at all. He was in advertising. He had sort of a number of jobs before he sort of settled on his final job, which was the last sort of 25 years of his professional life. But it was always around sort of the advertising space, and so that to me is sort of a very creative part of business. When I was 23 and trying to sort of figure out my direction, he told me about television commercials and residuals, and he really encouraged me to pursue this. And I felt, with the sort of strong backing of my folks, like not financial backing, not that matters whatsoever, but just like the firm support of my dad and my mom too. But my dad was really like hey man, I believe in you. You got this. Give it a shot. Go for it. I felt like I had the wind at my back. So that's sort of where my head goes first. And throughout my 20s when I was having some difficulties and a lot of self-doubt, a phone call to him was enough to reaffirm what I was doing and reaffirm the path I was trying to be on. And that meant the world to me. I didn't have anyone in my life when I was young who was in the creative arts. And listen, I'm from the suburbs of Washington, D.C. Nobody's mom or dad made a living doing anything remotely like this. I mean, everyone's, professions were relatively the same, same sort of three, four, five different fields. And so I didn't have anyone to ask questions to that I knew who was in the field either. I didn't have any older brothers or sisters in the field. I know, anyway, I just didn't have anyone. So there was a lot of sort of hacking through the weeds, trial by fire type cliche type stuff. So those phone calls to my dad and that was that was very much what I needed to sort of keep me going. And as far as like, I don't know, other actors, or I think I'm just gonna end there just with my dad, because that's the firmest answer I could give. Otherwise, I think I would just be reaching.
I love that. Yeah. So who has had the biggest impact on you personally?
Personally, personally, boy, I mean, at different times in my life, it's been different people. Lots of teachers growing up were very influential. And I went to a school for 10 years from third grade to 12th grade. So from age, 8 to 18, basically. And you had to play a sport at the school, and the coaches were our teachers. So we had this sort of teacher coach mentor thing happening. I went to a school called Landon. It's in Bethesda, Maryland, so DC suburb. And that model was very impactful for me because the people who were teaching us how to, I don't know, how to do, fractions were also the people teaching us sort of life lessons out on the proverbial field, if you will. And there were always, I don't know, there were always like, those moments where I could see from the fact that these people were like relatively well-rounded and sort of steeped in, I don't know, life experience in a way that I certainly wasn't as a, as like a teenager, that there was sort of more to come. Um, and so I remember, I don't know, I just remember being young and having teachers that I really liked and really looked up to, that I trusted. Um, there's one in particular who's still there. I remember I was 23. This is when I moved to New York just to try to start acting, and I was trying to figure it out. And I went back to the school to visit. I have two younger brothers who were still there, and maybe one had graduated, but they both were teachers there. One is still a teacher there, uh, and this teacher I'm referring to, he just kind of, I ran into him in the hallways. Like I said, I was back visiting, and he just kind of pulled me aside um, and he'd been at the school for so long. He gave me a perspective of like, our school or our sort of culture, for better or worse, from where I came from, was very interested in making sure as a student you got good grades, and you could go to college, and then you get good grades in college, and then you go get a job, and like there's your life path. And he was telling me how that wasn't always the case, and like he was like in the 1970s, for example, or early 80s, like he's like it wasn't uncommon to have, the desire to like, and I remember him saying this because it sticks in my mind, ride motorcycles across North Africa. Like I've never ridden motorcycles across North Africa, but that idea was such a departure from the sort of the DC private school area that I grew up in. And I think he was essentially saying there's so much more on the menu to life than what you've been sort of, you know, um, sort of told or, kind of urged to follow. And so that, I feel like, gave me permission to take this path that was very different than the path that my friends were taking. And like I mentioned, no moms or dads of my friends were doing, or for as much as I knew, had done. So it's such a long answer to such a simple question, and I wish I could just tell you, but Mr. Sorkin, thanks, Mr. Sorkin, because he really helps me. You really helped affirm sort of what my dad was already affirming, which was there is another way. And I also remember reading, one of my best friends gave me the book The Alchemist. Gosh, back in 2000, when I was sort of starting this whole trek, and it's a book I returned to because it did show me that it was okay to take a so-called alternate path, because worst case scenario, I could go back to the thing I did before because I knew it and I knew it was there. Like I could go back and live in my parents' basement if I failed miserably, and I could lick my wounds and I could figure it out. But yeah, yeah, I hadn't thought about that in a very long time, and I hope your listeners are still with us, because I imagine some of them probably tuned out because that was maybe a long and drawn out answer. But I hope you're still with us, because that's something I hadn't thought about in a long time. But that was very, very important, and it was very, very important for someone in their early 20s who was starting out to be given the support. Think I'd be I don't think I'd be in this field talking to you, especially if I didn't have that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Well,
Yeah.
good. I'm glad you did. I'm like, oh boy, did I just lose everybody? Uh,
No, I love that. I definitely have had some, yeah, teachers that have definitely made a huge impact on my life.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So what in your life brings you the most joy?
I have a son. He's so little, and he's so wonderful and yummy. And that I have to say, just spending time looking into his eyes, playing around, being creative, that brings me immeasurable joy in a way that I never could have anticipated before I had him. I remember when I lived in New York City, I would have this like recurring dream that, the small apartment I lived in, like I discovered a door that led to like a whole other part of the apartment I never knew was there. And suddenly I had more space. And I was like, oh my God, my apartment is so much bigger than this is amazing. And in a very similar way, that's what it was like having a child for me. Was there was a whole other massive like room, door, that had opened in my heart, which is so corny, but it's very, very true. And I never would have known or appreciated that, or understood it, had I not lived it. So yeah, that brings me immeasurable joy. Um, and to have, listen, I love my wife to death. When we're all around with him as a family, it's just the best, best, best. And then, of course, listen, professionally, I love working. I love working. I love being on set. I love working with other actors. I love what happens when the cameras are going and where we're experimenting with the lines and with the scene work, and trusting that if I just listen to what the other actor is saying and how they're saying it and everything that they're giving me with their body language, and I'm responding to that truthfully, that like, there's a real moment to moment magic that can happen. And then to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. It's the, sort of for me, the definition of a flow state. Hours go by. I have no interest in what time it is. I also have no idea what time it is. It's so truly wonderful. And that's not just the actors, it's everybody on set, pulling on the rope to make something they believe in. It's just so rewarding, and it's just so much fun.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, yes, season one of Brilliant Minds. I watched that with my mom, and I would like watch it. I wanted to always watch it live every week when it was on, because I always looked forward to new episodes.
Uh,
And I remember when it first premiered, and uh my mom and I were watching the premiere, and you came on, and was I was telling my mom that I was like, his character in The Flash was so creepy, and in this, he's very different.
oh yeah, yeah. Thank you, gosh. That was almost 10 years. That was 2015 is when season two was shooting. 2015 into 2016. We shot the pilot for Brilliant Minds, and of course we had our actor strike. I think we all had thought we were going to go to work on the series if we were lucky enough to in the fall of 2023. That didn't happen, so we went to work in the spring of 2024. Yeah, and you're hitting on something that I feel is very, very grateful to be able to do, is to have been on, of course, a number of different shows with great writing and great casts, but also to play characters that aren't the same character every time. I also would be happy as long as it's a career, I would be happy to play essentially the same character time and time again. I mean, I just get to do what I love for a living, and how great is that? But to have it be varied and to have it be different is something that's so fun. It's such a fun challenge, and it's really, really wonderful to hear that when you watch Brilliant Minds, we had such a good time doing it, and we're all hopeful that we'll get to do another one. We're going to be hearing, I think, pretty soon, is my understanding, about our fate for a season two. I'm optimistic, but I have no idea what's going on internally. But I'm very hopeful. I think we certainly earned it with the stories we told. We added Mandy Patinkin at the end of the season, who's an absolute legend. And I think the stories that we're telling, based on the life of Oliver Sacks, for those who don't know, brilliant neurologist, accomplished author. If you read any of his stuff, there's just so life affirming, and they're so wonderful. And so we're telling his stories, week to week. We're telling cases that he actually worked on, and there's a wealth of these cases, and it's just such a fun thing to be able to do as well, knowing that we're telling someone's story and we're telling the stories of his patients as well. So we just want to be able to keep doing that. And yeah, here's hoping.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Thank you. I mean, we're all wanting to know. Of course, we all want to know what our year is going to look like. Are we going to go to work this year? You know, when's it going to happen? Um, but we're also keeping our fingers crossed, knowing we have no control over the situation. There's something I'll say that's, you know, listen, I've done 10 different pilots. I've done five of them have been like this, where I'm a contract member of the cast. It's what's called a series regular, where I know I'm going to be in most, if not all, episodes. And when you shoot a show that hasn't been released out into the world yet, it's like it's our show as the actors. It's our show because no one's seen it yet. We're doing it for ourselves. We believe in it. It's self-contained, and we're not influenced by any outside, you know, opinions or pressures or what have you. Fans, nothing. And then it gets released out into the world like ours did after we had finished filming. We finished in August and we debuted in late September. So returning for a second season is it's different because now the show belongs to everybody else. You know, now that belongs to the fans and it belongs to the people who keep us in business every week. So that will be a fun thing if we get a chance to do. So we can tell the stories that people want us to tell, storylines and relationship stuff, romance, you know, family drama. All that stuff is then influenced by, I think, what the audience wants to see, in addition to what the writers want to tell. So there's always a difference between season one and season two, and I'm very, very excited and very hopeful that we'll be able to get to do it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Thank you, Maya. Yeah, we all are, fingers and toes. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so what has been the biggest obstacle you've overcome?
Probably impatience, and impatience can bleed into self-doubt. Particularly early on, it's hard. It's hard to get hired. This field is full of very interesting, dynamic, and accomplished people. Um, and the desire as a younger actor, you know, was I was getting auditions, but I wanted results. And I had acting teachers say, well, don't, if you focus on the results, you're focused on the wrong thing. And the thing that I had to learn was that was accurate for me. If I went into an audition and while I'm auditioning, in the back of my head, I'm trying to assess how I'm doing, you know, like, do they like me? Are they listening to me? Are they bored? And this is back when all auditions were in person, and they were, you know, usually a creative team of writers, directors, whatever, sitting there watching. You get a vibe from the room, whether they like you or not. And so what I started to do, I just stopped that, because that's like just the worst thing you could do as an actor, is sort of try to gauge if they like you while you're trying to do something that's has nothing to do with being well received. So I just started to kind of pretend, well, what if I already had the job? Like, what if I went in and just pretend I totally didn't have the job? I was one of 10, 20, whatever people reading. What if I just dropped that and I went in there and I pretended like I already had the job? Then I wouldn't, then I would just be presenting to them my ideas of the character, knowing that it was going to be a collaboration. I could be way wrong. They could direct me how they saw fit. But then I wouldn't, then I'm removing that thing, which is I'm here to get a job. And no, I'm here to just act. I'm here to act. I'm here to do the scene today. And then I'm going to go. You know, then I was less precious about it. I was more interested in playing. I was more interested in actually listening. And that when I made that switch in my auditioning is when I started to get more work. When I started to sort of work more consistently. So in addition to, you know, self-doubt or impatience and self-doubt, you know, another obstacle might have been comparison. It's kind of the worst thing. Another bad thing you can do as an actor is look at your peers and, whoa, so and so just got that show. Like, no, why that? That's corrosive. I want to cheerlead, man. I want to champion all of my actor friends that get work. And if they're gonna, again, the switch I started to make was, well, if they're gonna pick so and so, then they were never gonna pick me, because we're different. We're different humans. Like, maybe we're the same height, or maybe we're the same hair color, but we're not at all the same people. And when you're casting, I'm not a casting director, but when you're casting, there's so many elements to consider, but one of them is just, do we get a good feel for this person in the larger body of the ensemble, or are they a good husband match to the female wife we've already cast, or you know do we believe that tonally do they fit into our world and the show that we're creating, or the show that's been on for 5 years, depending on what it is. So yeah, I'd stopped comparing. It's an easy thing to do as humans. There's what's the quote? Comparison's the thief of joy. Like if I'm comparing all the time, then I'm I don't know, then I'm just doing myself a disservice. So those are things that I've had to really work against, and by doing so, it's made me better at the work. I think.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so what is the greatest lesson you have learned from a character you've played?
Hmm. Greatest lesson from a character. Jeez. Hmm. Boy, I really don't know. It makes me think of. I mean, I feel like I've mentioned impatience, but patience is one of the best things I think you can have. I don't know, in this life. Things don't always work on your desired time table. I don't know. It just makes me think of Dr. Josh and Oliver. Sometimes it takes time for great things to like germinate. For people to warm to each other, to discover each other. Um, the thing you think you know about someone could be way wrong once you get through a tough exterior. Yeah, it makes me think of Josh and Oliver, and I'm hopeful for more I'm hopeful to that the relationship continues to deepen in season two, and we can explore that further. But yeah, patience comes to mind. I was going to make a joke about Zoom and in Flash season two, like snatching, Caitlin and taking her to his lair, because he thinks that that's what you do with someone you love, and like chains her to something in his. It's like, yeah, maybe don't do that. That's another layer.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe when you love someone, don't try to possess them. That's maybe
Yeah.
another thing I've learned. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's a difference between love and possession. It's not the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, that I a whole storyline, like I don't know. I just found like that so creepy once you found out like who he actually was. And
Yeah.
yeah, then when he kidnapped Caitlin, I
Right. Right. This is normal, right? This is what you do with the people you love, right? You make sure no one else can get at them, and then you have them only to yourself. Like, oh boy. But I remember being told, listen, having the season two storyline laid out for me when I was offered the job, and it being sort of imparted on me by the writers that the one thing that isn't false with your Jay Garrick is that you actually have feelings for Caitlin Snow. That's not something that you are pretending to have. That is a surprise to you that happens. So that was a fun thing to play with. If everything else was a joke, or joke's the wrong word, if everything else were a game, if everything else were part of Hunter Zolomans' sociopathy, that's the one thing that was not. So that was a fun thing to play with, like to actually be wounded and to be rejected in a way. That was very much felt like Hunter's origin story in episode 17, where we get to know why he is who he is, and the diverging paths that he had and Barry Allen had, with the same or similar life event early in their lives with their respective parents. Um, that yeah, that's something that one took me by surprise, and that was a fun thing to play
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the Flash is one of my comfort shows. I rewatch it all the time. And um, in 2020 during lockdown, I binged watched, like I rewatched the whole thing, every season that was out at that time. I just watched it all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're not the only one who said that about returning to the Flash at any point since it's been off the air now. I mean, it hasn't been off the air that long, but even when it was on, people, it's something that they return to as a very comforting thing. And another recurring theme is that it's something that families always enjoyed watching together because it really had that wonderful like heart at the center of it, and especially early days, the Flash was just so well. And I say early days because I was on it. I didn't watch subsequent seasons. I didn't even watch season two because it was airing while we were doing it, and I didn't want to watch my performance. I just wanted to whatever, and I just never got back. I never returned to it. Is that the show really had this incredible family and like sort of togetherness element that it was like destination TV for a lot of families, and that's always a fun thing to think about when I think about my time
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so what motivates you even on days you aren't really feeling it?
there. My family for sure. I mean, I'm motivated to continue working. I guess first and foremost, let me just like because I absolutely love it. There hasn't been a day in a while that I haven't felt it. I just the job is so varied, and whether it's like a physical location is different. You could be shooting anywhere in the world. We shot Night Agent in Thailand. We went to Bangkok for 10 days. What a total surprise that was. The ability to work with other actors who I love and respect and to tell great stories and to try new things on. I mean, I'm really motivated by the variety of it. It's very exciting. And then of course having a family now, it's a secondary layer of motivation to just make sure it's like a very male thing for it's a very me thing, but uh, um, to just to try to take care of everybody, to try to make sure that we're okay, you know, like food, rent paid, all that basic human stuff. But I feel very motivated to do that. So I'm very fortunate, though. I haven't. This is not a word, but like, well, I was going to say I haven't tired, which is not a word. I haven't gotten tired of the field whatsoever. I love it. It's every field's got its stuff, and this field definitely has its stuff. But I just love it. I continue to just be hungry and excited to see what's next. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So what is your most memorable moment from a day on set?
Most memorable moment. Oh man. Geez, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've had so many of these moments that have felt so sort of monumental to me because it's either been like a heavy lift in terms of dialogue or emotion, or probably most specifically acting opposite people whose work I just adore. As a sort of a serial guest star actor, I've sort of found myself across the table from people whose work I grew up adoring and seeing. Whether it's I don't know Kathy Bates or Bette Midler or Clive Owen or Jimmy Smits. Like those are just the first four that come to mind. That's yeah, yeah. I can't think of one where that was like the holy shit moment. Every time I feel like I've had it, feel so fortunate because it sort of continues to repeat itself. So no, I wish I had one clear one for you, but I think as someone who grew up loving TV, still loves TV, uh, that that I'm always pinching myself when I find myself, acting on a project I love or respect, or with producers or directors whose stuff I've just adored, and other actors I just think are I'm like not worthy to be, in their company. I mean, I guess the first season of American Horror Story sticks out to me because that whole cast was absolutely crazy to me. So many of them I'd seen on Broadway or in other films, and I just yeah, I still marvel that I found myself there. So yeah, that's probably one.
I love that. Yeah. So I am pop culture obsessed and I go in stages of shows
Yeah,
that I cannot stop watching. Is there a show that you are currently obsessed with?
my wife and I have returned to the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt on Netflix. So we're right now rewatching Kimmy Schmidt for I don't know the fourth or fifth time.
Oh,
That it's like every once in a while. I mean, Tina Fey's writing that whole team. We 30 Rock. It'll happen with 30 Rock every now and again. This is not Tina Fey, but Veep has sort of re been rewatched or resurfaced, I guess is what I'm looking for. So right now we're pretty obsessed with Kimmy Schmidt again. We have to pause it constantly because we're laughing so hard that we're missing the next like series of lines, which are all always loaded with such really funny and smart stuff. So yeah, that's what we're into right now. What about you? Are you or what's your thing right now?
I love that. Well, I just finished watching season 2 of The Night Agent.
Okay.
Um, and I'm this show I'm not binge watching because it's coming out weekly, but I'm obsessed with The Pit on
Oh yeah,
Netflix.
we haven't started it yet, but we have some friends who are on it, and we're letting it sort of like because you can't binge it, right? We're letting a few
Right.
stack up before we take it on. Yeah, that one looks great.
Yeah, I probably should have done that too because it's one of those shows that every time it's over, I like every episode, I don't want it to be over.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
but yeah, that's one like I am so excited to watch every week. So like I know the exact time it comes out on
yeah.
Thursdays and I'm like we have to watch it.
No, that's great. I mean, that's how it should be, and leave you excited to watch it again next week. It allows for a little bit of laziness for an audience member like myself to just kind of get to it eventually. But John Wells is incredible. Like John Wells's stuff is unreal. So I'm excited to see that. Uh, I feel like they shot it in Los Angeles, though it's set in Pittsburgh, right? The
Yeah,
Pit, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Pittsburgh has a very thriving film community, but I don't know, they shot it here. So, but that's cool. That's cool. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, we're gonna have to let another week or two go by and then tackle it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom and I watch it together, and it like it hits us so hard because it's so realistic.
Awesome, awesome. No, that's great. Great recommendation. I got it. Yeah, I got to see it uh,
Yeah,
soon. Yeah, soon. Once we finish Kimmy Schmidt.
yeah, yeah. Um, so if you had a warning label, what would yours say?
Oh my gosh, if I had a warning label, what would mine say? Warning, overly sensitive, introverted, observer. Um, uh, uh, what else? Yeah, overly sensitive, introverted, observer of life, enjoys recharging his batteries alone, only to need to explore the world to deplete his battery. I don't know. That's the weirdest thing I could have ever said, but that's kind of true. Kind of true. I don't know. Yeah, the font's gonna have to be really small because that was a very that was a very
Yeah,
long warning label.
yeah, yeah. Maybe you'll have to have like an actual like zoom in like button so people
Right,
can read the whole thing.
right. Yes, of course. Assuming it's digital, and if it's not, they better have a magnifying glass so they can
Yeah,
sort of like the Santa Claus, just like the different levels of magnification to get to the real. Yeah. So
yeah.
weird reference. We watch that too much at Christmas.
Well, I like that warning label.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
true. Listen, I'm sure that there's more there. That would be a pretty great exercise for any person, I think, to if you had to write your own warning label, what would it be? But then that presumes that would be something that people who aren't you would take caution with, and maybe that's not. Maybe that's something that I don't know, a lot of people have, or like that's not something to be warned about. That's normal. I don't know. But isn't that an interesting thing? Like the thing that I think is a warning label could be that's just me. That's just me thinking that it's a bad thing, so to speak, and it might just
Yeah.
not be at all. Anyway, that's an interesting exercise too.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so what is something people are always surprised to learn about you?
Oh, surprised. Let me see. I was a competitive swimmer when I was growing up. I was nationally ranked when I was 14. Um, I played college football for a year, and when I say I played college football, I didn't actually play college football, but I was on the team. I was never going to see time because I wasn't good. But I don't know. Maybe that that in my sort of earlier background, there was a lot of sort of you know sport accomplishment, if you will. But I don't know. I'm not sure. Surprised, maybe, or might be just kind of like, huh, yeah, all right. Well, that was such a long time ago. Who cares? It could be that too.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not, I'm like a ways from 14. So I think people might be like, well, whatever. I mean, we all did stuff when we were teens. So who cares?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um, so what three words best describe you?
Oh, man. That would require a level of I don't know, maybe self examination that, not that I'm uncomfortable with it, but three words. Well, I don't know. I don't know that I mean, maybe I'm searching for the three words, but maybe three words. There's probably more. Maybe there's some better ones. I think I'm very caring. I don't know. I think I really care about the people in my life who I love. Really, 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 really care. That's weird, but I really, really, really care. But I do. I'm caring. Oh boy, I'm selfish. Would that be accurate? I don't know. I am a little bit, a lot of it. And what else? I mean, I want to say thoughtful, but that sort of means not similar to caring, but like I I think a lot. So maybe it's more cerebral, turning things over in my head. Not I don't ruminate or obsess, but I feel like I don't know, maybe I'm constantly trying to sort of figure stuff out, sort of mentally tinkering with, yeah, ideas or things I want to accomplish, or that doesn't tend to sort of turn off. So that's probably what I would say. Are they the definitive three words? Man, I don't know. I'd have to really sit down and think about it. But those three come to mind.
So what genre of movie would your life story be told as?
Is there is boring a genre? Is like put you to sleep? Is sleepy a genre? No, there are some people who've had such sort of exciting electric lives, or lives full of trauma, family difficulties, bankruptcy. I mean, my life has been, I mean, particular to wanting to be a professional actor and have it be my sort of only slash primary thing to do professionally. it's not been a drama, it's not been a comedy, it's not been action, it's not been suspense, it's not been a thriller. It's just been like a an attempt to sort of methodically, boringly just kind of keep my head down and just do the work, do the work, do the work. That's not a movie anybody wants to see because it's not exciting. It's just it's just a it's just like, I don't know. The workers like to work. I just like to work. I just like to, and I just want to put my head down and go to work. So it's not a movie that's going to do well at the box office or streaming for that matter. In fact, it's not even going to get greenlit. Yeah. So that's the truth, though. That's the truth. There's really nothing that fits sort of our modern, the modern boxes to put my life story in. It's sort of wonderfully boring in that way. There would be a lot of like, of watching me do the same thing over and over again until I finally figure out like, well, that's not working. I got to make a change. And yeah, and I don't know that that makes a very compelling. It's not a very compelling film consumption, but it's worked. It's worked so far, and we'll just have to see if I'm able to keep doing it. And my hope is to be able to do this for my whole life, and I like to believe that I will. But so much of that isn't up to me. So all I can do is I mean, I could try to generate my own stuff, but I also really love being handed material and be told to go to work and figure it out. And that's very exciting. It's always like a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle, putting scenes together, and that's great for my brain because I like to find the pieces that fit together.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've always wanted my life to be told as both a rom-com and a musical.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That's funny. Well, I would watch that. But I would not be breaking out into song in my life. It would be, yeah, there would be so many disappointed theater goers in the life story that is my life story. Um, yeah, it's like been pretty simple, somewhat humble, and that's worked for me.
um so what show or movie do you find yourself quoting more often than you would like?
Um, Geez, oh God, it rained. I mean, recently it's been Step Brothers, which is so stupid. It's so stupid, but it makes me laugh so hard. Um, it used to be Dumb and Dumber when I was in college, like, or Billy Madison or something really, Happy Gilmore, like the really silly, dumb, yet very comfort food, like you talked about, very comforting comfort food. Adam Sandler or Will Ferrell movies. And then of course, if it's Christmas time, you're getting Elf, and you're right, right. You're getting Christmas Vacation. You're getting all those really incredible, even Christmas Story, so wonderfully beautiful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the fun, silly ones.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, always, always
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah, yeah. It's really fun.
I love that. Yeah, my brain is just filled with show and movie quotes and scenes just to reference in any
That's so funny.
situation.
Isn't it so funny that like there's like a lot of Saturday Night Live finds its way into my life too. We're avid SNL watchers, and there's always a quote or something really silly that Kristen Wiig once said, or Keenan said, or Mikey Day said. God, Mikey Day wrote, and it aired for a year, and you can't find it anywhere. And luckily, we bought it. But the David S. Pumpkins Halloween special, we bought on Amazon, and like you can't. We luckily we have it, but like we quote that, we might quote that all year long, and it's just so silly and dumb. And Tom Hanks, voices over his character. Peter Dinklage is the narrator. Like, they're lines from that we say all the time, and Yeah, the SNL influence is like looms large in our house. Yeah,
Oh, I love that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my family and I, we actually went to New York a couple of years ago, and we got to go to a taping of SNL,
Did you do the rehearsal or the live show?
the live show.
Amazing. Who hosted?
It was Bad Bunny.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
it was so surreal to be there and see every.
Studio's a lot smaller, right, in real life than
Yeah,
it looks on TV. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, and also just seeing like how fast everything goes,
yeah.
and like it was so just interesting to see all of that. I remember joking with my family that if I was doing that, I'd be having a meltdown every single week. You
Yeah.
just see me like crying on the floor.
Right, right,
So,
right. It definitely. I feel like it separates out purposefully. You know, those people. There's a certain type of person I think that really thrives in that pressure cooker. You know how the week is really grinding in terms of finding the sketches, and then of course, like you said, you got to move so quickly, and it's a well-oiled machine for those who thrive in it. Like, boy, do they ever thrive in it.
yeah,
And you know, it's the 50th anniversary of the show. There's, I mean, without this, I mean, 50 years, uh, and how it shaped comedy in America, it's just sensational. Just such a big fan of everything that's yeah, that Lorne Michaels has done, and all the incredible comics that have come out of there. It's, I can't imagine my life, you know, without it. Anyway, yeah, love SNL.
yeah,
Crazy for it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's a, sort of a weaved into the fabric of our lives now. Yeah, there's there's oh, and most. I mean, yeah, yeah. There's always something. I feel like there's always something, even if the episode wasn't like maybe, you know, a smash from top to bottom. I think there's always something just so silly about it,
yeah,
and silly in a good way. Silly, we need silly. Silly's great.
yeah,
Silly's wonderful. Like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
definitely.
we need that. We need that. Steve Martin. I always think of Steve Martin when I think of silly, and like silly has a place
Yeah,
in, yeah, silly has a place in our lives for sure.
yeah, definitely. Um, so I just have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Um, so I love inspiring and motivational quotes, and this week the one that spoke to me is turn up everything, your magic, your voice, your strength, your humor, your kindness, your gratitude, your love. Is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
Lately, I can't think of anything. Um, uh, Gosh, I remember having a T.S. Eliot quote like on my, you know, on my wall like for many years. This is when I was like just kind of raring to go and see the world, and I believe I'm probably gonna blow it, but we shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. This sort of, you know, the sort of notion that you got to strike out into the world, and in the process of exploring, as often happens, life will circle sort of back on itself. But when you get to that place, having struck out in the world to begin with, you will be a different person. The place will therefore be different. And isn't that sort of what it's all about? I mean, wanting to sort of have an adventurous or varied life from the one that sort of I experienced growing up. That one really stood out to me. And the other one, I'm going to get this wrong, was there's a great artist named Robert Irwin, and he said something to the effect of, uh, oh no, I'm going to get this something like it's a spectacular, it's a something spectacular world out there if you know where to look. And that always sort of reminded me to look, maybe not just take, you know, what I'm seeing to be all that there is. You know, that sometimes you got to look look deeper and look up, look down, look further to find the things in life that hold spectacular beauty. There's, of course, a lot of things in life that are not so beautiful, and that is not meant to diminish all the difficulties that we have as human beings, but there is a lot of beauty, and it makes me think of the natural world, trees and plants, flowers, oceans, all the. I'm about to make a joke about all the hippie stuff, but it's all the stuff that I think nature. It's the stuff that I think so easily sort of forget that we are a part of. So I'm sure that there are more um, Chuck Close, something like, inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just go to work. Something that's kind of what I love too. There's a beauty in just waking up and doing the work every day and not waiting for like inspiration to strike. Just keep doing it, and then through that, then good, beautiful things can and will happen. So there's three. I kind of butchered all three quotes, but those three have surfaced in this moment, and those are ones I keep returning to. I guess I wish I could say that I had one. There's one that's up actually in our room. It's Mary Oliver. What will you do with your? I'm going to get it wrong. I can't even see it, but like, what will you do with your one, you know, wild and precious life? So all you Mary Oliver fans out there, I'm sorry that I blew that one, but again, it's if you got this one life, it is wild, it is precious. What are you going to do with it? So that one's always very exciting too.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love all of those.
Good. Thank you. I
Yeah.
mean, it's something very personal. The quotes you say, sort of illuminate what you find important, right? And who your influences are. And those are all, authors and fine artists, and they influence me. I will never be either of those, but I do like to think that I, being a part of this artistic field can, I don't know. There's always something about reading a good quote or seeing a movie or some line somewhere that's helped me get over or work through something that might be a little bit difficult or challenging. And, maybe I can be a part of something that helps do that for someone just in the course of learning someone else's lines and wearing someone else's clothes and trying to tell the story of somebody else that maybe that'll happen, but that's certainly not the point. But it's nice to think that being a part of this artistic field, that maybe maybe that sort of thing can help make people's days better, or life more interesting. And like being a part of Brilliant Minds or the Night Agents, like we get a chance to tell these stories that can be a great escape. They can be a great thrill. They can make you think. um, that's cool. That's worth the effort to me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, well, that was my final question for you.
Thank you, Maya. Thanks for having me. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I hope, uh, yeah, I'm grateful. Thanks for wanting to talk to me.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I can't tell you how much this means to me to be talking with you.
I can't believe you feel that way. I mean, thank you. That's awesome. I just am like, no, I wake up, I go to work, and I go home. I'm super boring and normal, but it's so fun to have been a part of all these different shows that you said in your intro. Like, oh man, those are all really cool moments for me, and so I'm tickled that you wanted to talk to me. I'm really flattered. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I could just keep talking to you all day. So
Well, I know your questions are really excellent and provocative, and I'm really enjoying it myself. So, thank you. I know if I didn't have to, I have like a little clock going for the toddler. So, yeah, otherwise I would tack on more time. But
yeah.
I am very, very grateful, and you've amassed such an incredible, oh gosh, like roster of people you've interviewed. I really am so thrilled to be someone you thought of. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. And
You're
yeah,
welcome.
I can't even like put into words
So
what how much this has meant to me. So
that's so lovely. I'm just a dude. I'm just a normal dude. But thank you for making me feel special today. Thank you.
yeah. Yeah. And that's a wrap on today's edition of the latest with Maya.